when binge watching helps. Because I went inward and I did all the getting acquainted with, opening relationship with all the different aspects within me, gave the language to psychologically get those aspects to come into appreciation of one another and acceptance, and where applicable to just merge into one or release the other, because as is mentioned elsewhere and previously, we create space for parts of other people's conscious or subconscious within ourselves so that we can work with them. So we have a difficult family member or coworker, friendship, and we try to think, well, what how would they respond to that? Would this help? Do they want to hear that? So while we're trying to figure them out, we're creating an image of them within ourselves, and if we struggle with it long enough, it just feels like a part of ourselves, and maybe it gets dismissed and forgotten. So I went in and I did all that work, and eventually what it ended up feeling like, so I use feeling like so that we don't get stuck in imagery. Like in psychology, they talk about multiple personalities. This isn't necessarily a personality that's mine. I don't have to like flash in and out and, hey, this is Joe, this is Fred, this is George, Martha, and all of that. So what it ended up feeling like as it processes through me, this is how the energy I feel moves through me. It's like the feminine is usually the initiator in me for understanding. And so the more masculine is the one that's been the most closed off. And what it ended up feeling like as it came into resolution and moved through the deepest parts of me was a little girl who is saying, oh, if he says this, or I noticed they feel this way, watching little boys' behavior. And eventually that little boy's behavior starts, well, no, because he would say this, no, if you tell him this. And so there's a cooperative arrangement, and then it kind of fades and recedes as it ultimately settles where it's going to settle. And it's just in the so nitty gritty, my conscious mind isn't registering all those minute little itty bitty conversations. And it doesn't have to, because the place where those conversations were stored was the condensed light, and the most repressed of intelligence within me, because of the outer world. No, you think this way, you have to do this way, you have to behave this way, you have to respond this way. And so that's where the most energy is. That's where the most intelligence and sharpest of intelligence in me is stored, is down deep, where it can do its own work. So, for example, the last video I did, I talked about an example of what I struggle with, where a personal wound in association with my children and the universal children produced by alien abduction and stuff like that, how I resonated with that. So I can trust my inner self. I don't have to sit there and hash it out in my conscious mind, where it's so limited and it's so overwhelmed with the emotions and the thinking patterns all at once. So that's when binge watching something helps me. So I hadn't watched the Star Wars saga consecutively ever And I just went and started at episode 1 and watched right through. And that distracts my conscious mind, because I can see, this one wouldn't have been pulled in the dark if you would just accept their relationship, if you would address those feelings instead of, don't focus on the anger. That's the dark side. It'll lead you to the dark side. Oh, don't focus. Like, it exists. It needs to be addressed. And every single time, they got it wrong. It just, and the characters, one thought, one bad, and that's it. They're off on the dark side, murdering children, It's like, no, it doesn't happen that fast. Maybe in the speedier realms, the higher dimension where there's no time to slow down and think, it's all impulsive, reactive. But because my conscious mind is not threatened by any of this, it doesn't question any of it, or it doesn't have any questions in reference to it, and there's no personal attachment to any of the conflicts, that gives my inner self the opportunity to come to a conclusion, to do that for me, to create that package that it then, releases into my conscious mind, that says there's lots to look forward to. It's not over until it's over. And so binge watching something can definitely serve us, just not if it goes on too long. I'm going to make another video, because that just leads to the next. Once something resolves, something else comes up for healing, but something that needs to be addressed in the here and now. So I'll do another video in just a minute about that. So binge watching, for some, can serve in a very big, helpful way, because we're not putting energy into the conscious mind struggling while the subconscious is doing it for us. We aren't interfering in that work, and that work can be entrusted to the subconscious when we've gone down in there and we've addressed it and formed a good relationship with it.